Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. This is Mujeeb Kazi, and you're watching Washington Roundtable powered by VOKTV. India has attacked Pakistan today, and obviously, the battleground is Kashmir. There's a saying that when the two elephants fight, grass is what gets destroyed, and that's exactly what's happening at the ground zero. Uh, to discuss that developing story as well as issue of Kashmir, a flashpoint between the three nuclear powers, we have very special guest with us today, joining us from Indonesia, Miss Laura Schuurmans. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Certainly. And I'm also joined by from Canada, Chairman Kashmir Global Council, Farooq Siddiqi. Sab. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Sloan.
Thank you very much for giving us time, such a testing time for not only for the region but for the world. But today, I'm excited that I'm finally able to reach out to someone who has done an extremely great work extensively in Kashmir. She has authored a book called Azadi, Freedom, Change in Kashmir. She has traveled to the region. She has spoken to the leaders of three countries. She has gone to visited the China, uh, and now she is uh, based in Indonesia. She has authored a book. I'm going to start off with her first, with the question that how do you see this whole situation that is being developed at this time?
Um, well, it's not a good thing. It's a very sad incident. But the only positive thing that we can take out of this that Kashmir gets some international attention. Kashmir is a disputed region where especially the people of Kashmir has been suffering for the last 70 years plus. And it seems always to me, while I was doing my research, that the international community has neglected Kashmir. The people of Kashmir have become a victim, and they are a victim again today. I mean, what happened on the 22nd of April in Pahalgam in Indian Kashmir, it's just a very sad incident and development. But the surgical strikes or the missile strikes that India conducted against Pakistan during the night, I assume, it's a dangerous development because it's a fine line between peace and war. Both countries have nuclear weapons, and they all believe that because they have nuclear weapons, the war is not going to get out of control. But we need to contain this conflict. And instead of going to war, there should be a dialogue. And in my book, I have always focused on a dialogue between India, Pakistan, but also to include the people of Kashmir who have never been included in any form of discourse.
I was having some glitches in the beginning, so I was looking at the book, and you have done an extensive work in Kashmir, and it was forwards by the former Vice President of Republic of Indonesia, and obviously the President of Timor, and the Nobel Peace Prize laureate Jose Ramos has written about your book, and obviously it's a very well recognized book around the globe. Uh, I'm going to ask you one more about the claims that both sides are making at this time, and obviously it's a developing story. We don't know what the factual numbers are. Pakistan has claimed that it has shot down several. I have the list of all the claims that Pakistan has made, and India has also made a claim that it has targeted 9 different cities or different points where they have targeted, according to them, where the terrorist was hideouts. And I can tell you what, there was a bomb that was dropped right about 300 yards from my home, from my hometown in Muzaffarabad. So we have not been able to establish contact with our family members. We don't know what's their conditions are. What is your take on that?
Well, India claims it has targeted 9 terrorist camps in the Pakistani side of Kashmir, and I'm very fortunate because I've been to the Pakistani side of Kashmir many times since 2008, 2009, and I've seen all the developments. And that part of Pakistan is one of the safest parts of the entire country. And I have never witnessed any terrorist threat in Azad Jammu and Kashmir or Gilgit or Baltistan. So if India claims that there are terrorist camps in the Pakistani side of Kashmir, I think they also should come up with credible evidence about that. Where did they hit? If you say that your home, close to your home, a bomb was dropped, that's a civilian area. And I've been to Muzaffarabad many times as well, and I have never witnessed any potential terrorist threat in that part. And everybody, all Pakistanis, always told me that part of Pakistan is so safe. And if you see the developments in Pakistan, it has made enormous progress in the last 10, 15 years to root out all terrorist threats. I mean, speak about Swat region, for instance. It's not so far from the Pakistani side of Kashmir. So yeah, India has its claims. It maybe have more credible information than that I have, but then show the proof, because that will make our work easier as well.
You have traveled, you mentioned you have traveled to Pakistan, you have met the leaders, you have had a meeting with Musharraf during your visit. How did you find him? What was his? He has a 4-point proposals as well, and you're a huge proponent of dialogues. And I think to pursuit of that, you've been to in several institutions in China, and I also been told that you have included in your book the Declaration of Niagara Declaration, where the dialogue is the way forward. Would you like to shed some light on that?
I decided to interview the late President Musharraf because I do very much until today support his 4-point formula. I support his way of how he started dialogue with India. And or India says that they started the dialogue, so whoever started it, but it was at that time it started between the late Vajpayee and Musharraf. It continued with Singh, who also passed away unfortunately. But there were talks between the two nations. And after Pervez Musharraf was forced to step down in the summer of 2008, if I'm not mistaken, that dialogue stopped on the Indian side, but also on the Pakistani side. So if there is no dialogue between the two nations, and it is only about claims and counterclaims, hatred and ongoing hatred, yes, then in the end, the two countries will fight a war again. And this is what is happening today. But yes, if you speak about a dialogue, go back to the formula of former President Musharraf, go to the Niagara Declaration that Farooq can explain much more about, because what is needed, it's not war. What we need is dialogue. What we need is peace in this world right now.
I'm going to come back to you and trying to bring Farooq Siddiqi in the discussion. Farooq Siddiqi, sir, what update do you have? Is your family okay back home?
No, I have no idea. Thank you. I mean, everything is right now murky. Uh, Not much of the information which we can be authenticated. But however, there are claims and counterclaims, and it seems that there has been some action from both the countries. Uh, India has launched an attack, a missile attack, and in retaliation, there are reports that some of the Indian jets have been downed by Pakistani army. So it's an ongoing situation and developing situation. But it's sad that two countries are getting involved into these skirmishes off and on when they can sit down and have some peaceful dialogue between themselves and stop looking from the prism of communalism and animosity. While the humankind is going into the far off spaces of this universe, and we are still fighting on the basis of religion, especially the Prime Minister of India, who has made it a point that everything has to be looked through religious prism. And it's unfortunate, as I have said in the earlier episode of this program, that what happened on 22nd of April was unfortunate and unacceptable for any human standards. And and that time also we came up and said that there has to be an inquiry about it, an impartial inquiry, because the reason for that is that Kashmiris are getting blamed as terrorists. That is my concern. And I don't think that this was at any stage applauded by any Kashmiri militant. Definitely, it was a terror attack. And who conducted it, who organized it, or who managed it, there needed to be a very clear understanding by both India, Pakistan, and international community, rather than quickly blaming each other on this. And in the end, there are some more lives today we see have been lost, innocent lives. My question rather to India is that by putting some missiles in 9 places or 5 places or whatever the claim is, what is being achieved? By targeting and destroying some houses, what is going to be achieved? The issue stays there unresolved, and it can happen again. And it is a continuous chain. And somebody in Indian uh, leadership, as well as in Pakistani leadership, needs to think about to get out of this perpetual, continuous animosity between themselves, and sit down and, like civilized nations, talk, and then come up with for the help of their own citizenry. They have problems, economical problems, they have social problems, they have a lot of problems in South Asia,
So,
which they can.
so I'm going to go back to Laura and ask her, Laura, you've seen the the development for the last several years, and people talk, the leadership from both sides, they do make some progress. They talk, they go two-step forward, then three-step backwards when it comes down to dialogue. But they have never included Kashmiris themselves, who are the primary stakeholder in the conflict. They have tried to make it the conflict between India and Pakistan. How do you see that? How do Kashmiri tell them that they need to steer the direction?
Well, the Kashmir conflict is a conflict about territory between India and Pakistan, but the victims here are the people of Kashmir. And the people of Kashmir also have a say in this conflict because they're the one targeted all the time. They were targeted 2 weeks ago, or Kashmir was targeted 2 weeks ago. This was a clear terrorist attack. I remember I saw Farooq earlier in an interview. He said, any attack on any civilians anywhere in the world is a terrorist attack. So if you don't include the people of Kashmir and don't listen to what they want, we're living in a democratic world right now. We're not living anymore in the colonial era. The people of Kashmir definitely need to have a say. And that's what I emphasize on in my book as well, that the people of Kashmir have to be included in any dialogue between the two nations. Yes, there can be talks on the sidelines between India and Pakistan, military talks on the political level, diplomatic level, everywhere, track one, track two, track 1.5, but also have a formal dialogue which includes the Kashmiris. And that's why I go back again to the Niagara Declaration, which is something that Farooq initiated, to have a meeting where everybody is getting together. And that has never happened so far.
So I'm, in adding to your point, I was listening to Karan Thapar's interview with the former governor of Kashmir, uh,
Mhm.
Mr. Malik, and he, in his, like 30 minutes long interview, clearly stated that this terrorist attack was, uh, according to him, was in-house job by the security forces of India, because they deliberately removed the security posts from the meadow about a few weeks ago, and left the entire territory, which is most vulnerable for the visitors, out open. And then they have started blaming Pakistan, and then now they have carried out this attack. Uh, this is a nuclear flashpoint region. Why would a democratic country do something of that disastrous?
In my opinion, it's just hatred against Pakistan. India doesn't like Pakistan. India doesn't like that it controls part of the Kashmir region, which is Azerbaijan and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. And the two countries are unable to have a conversation with each other. And that's very sad. The two countries have to sit down and talk. So then this, I mean, there's claims Pakistan staged an attack in Pahalgam 2 weeks ago. I've read articles that it was India who stages to be able to start a war against Pakistan. I mean, these are all conspiracy theories. We don't know it because we are not in the military headquarters or the intelligence headquarters. So we will probably never find out who was behind it. But instead of having such an attacks and instead of blaming each other and firing missiles into Pakistan's Kashmir, where again innocent civilians are being killed, the two nations really have to sit down and talk. It's really important, and especially now with the ongoing war in Ukraine with Russia, Palestine-Israel conflict, we're only seeing conflict nowadays. After the Second World War, the war is becoming even more dangerous now because during the Second World War, it was only the US who had a nuclear bomb, and now so many countries have nuclear powers. India and Pakistan and China as well are nuclear armed.
Farooq Siddiqui Sahab, Pakistan claims that for the past 3 years, ever since India revoked Article 370 and 35A, it has been propagating around the globe that Kashmir has become the safest place. The visitors are welcome. Tourism is back. It's a peaceful city, and all of a sudden, this is what happens. And we are not saying that it's a claim that Pakistan is making, but most of the independent journalists who are claiming within India that it seems like it was an in-house job to gain some political scoring in the states where the election is taking place. Are you in the? How do you see that? I mean, would you consider that to be a politics on the lives of innocent people on both sides?
Yeah, as you referred to the ex-governor's interview, and based on the precedents of earlier such events, which later on came to fore that they were orchestrated. I do not need to name all of them, but even the ex-president of United States, while writing the foreword for Marilyn Albright, the then Secretary of State, who wrote a book, Mighty and the Almighty, in which President Clinton said that it was unfortunate that I had to go to India, and if I knew that this is going to happen, that some Hindu fundamentalist would do such an act of killing 35 minorities, six, I would have not gone, something like that. So, in the similar way, there were some operations done in we saw in Pathankot also. So there has been a chain of history regarding this. The important thing here is that Indian, especially the BJP, uses communalism to stay in power and regain power through elections. I mean, it does not have much to show to the people of the rural areas, which is the constituents really. Not, I'm not talking about the urban areas of India, but to the rural areas, the only way he can get the votes is through dividing on the basis of the communalism. And in order to do that, it will always do, as you said, referred to Mr. Malik's, the ex-governor's statement. So this party is based on hatred to minorities, not only to Muslims, but to Christians, to Sikhs. And if only the wisdom comes to them, that they will see that their policies of conducting their affairs, the political affairs and administrative affairs through the prism of communalism is going to balkanize India. You have 7 states, a Bangladeshi ex-general comes up and says that we should collaborate with China and take 7 states out of India. So this is a fissure. There is Punjab. Whether there are 40%, 50% Sikhs wanting to secede or staying with India, but it is a fissure. You see in Kashmir, it's a freedom struggle going on, irrespective of how much India would want to cover it and say that things are normal. It's not normal. After even 5 years of removing and amalgamating it as a union territory, you find that they have not been able to make an inch of a progress in Kashmir. And irony is, any learned or educated person in India just wraps it in the carpet as if, like an ostrich, that Kashmir issue does not exist. And that policy of India is going to lead it into the balkanization. If you do not recognize the problem, you cannot solve it. So, if you want to solve India's problems, then you have to recognize the problem that you have, the issues that you have. And religious uh, division is none of the problem, none of the solutions, because you have about 250 million people who are minority Muslims. It's bigger than population than Pakistan itself within India, and you cannot divorce them from the society, from your. So it is an issue, and India needs to realize. Coming back to Pakistan, Pakistan needs to realize that it has to do more work for social and economical progress of this nation, that nation that they hold, whether it is army or whether it is Imran Khan or it is Nawaz Sharif. What they have in front of issue to generate Pakistan into a viable nation and country, economically sound. And for that, they need to get themselves off Kashmir issue and resolve it. So resolution coming back can be only through dialogue, as Laura said. And the dialogue is, you cannot have dialogue between India and Pakistan and resolve Kashmir issue unless Kashmiris are not part of it.
Uh,
So the Niagara Declaration that Laura has mentioned in her book, after speaking with uh, these great people that she has referred to in this book, is something that needs to be taken very seriously by both India and Pakistan, and help her and help us in getting it to some level where we can all sit down, and these people from Indian and Pakistani can sit down and once for all march towards the progress of South Asia.
I'm going to come back to you on the Niagara Declaration and how we can take it forward. But I'm going to ask Laura about uh, issues. Kashmir is a issue. It's a conflict. It's a problem. Rather than addressing and solving this problem, India on a daily basis, and so is Pakistan, adding more fuel to the fire. For example, every 3 or 4 years, they have either Pulwama attack, Pahalgam attack, or on Pakistani side, they have this Kargil, and now you see issues happening in Balochistan, and we cannot give a clean, clearance to Pakistan. Also, they have faltered on many time as well. My question is that now the Indian government has pretty much against the Indus Water Treaty, which is a matter of survival for Pakistan. For the past, we have seen any single time that they needed some sort of a support from their own constituency, they will have some sort of operation inside Azad Kashmir. But this time they have targeted inside Pakistan. Number one, what do you make out of this whole situation? That's number one. And number two, How serious do you think the water issue is for Pakistan's survival? Because uh, maybe the life of Kashmiri may not be that important to Pakistan, but water is.
Um, Water is extremely important in the whole of South Asia, also because of the weather conditions, the flow of the rivers. Gilgit-Baltistan in the Pakistani side of Kashmir is extremely important for Pakistan. It cannot survive without the water flow. So the Indus Water Treaty that was brokered in 1960 by the World Bank was an important step, actually, for both nations. Also, led to some peace in the region. I mean, it led to the natural flow of the water that was divided between the two nations, and that has been stopped right now. And Pakistan declares it an act of war. It's not the only time they said this. They said it several years ago as well, when India threatened at that time to stop the flow. But now it has really stopped, or they divert dams, or they divert the water flow. It can cause a serious risk for Pakistan because it depends, millions, tens of millions, or if not the entire population, depends on the water flow from the mountains in the Himalayan region. So it is important, very important, that the Indus Water Treaty is restored again, and that that Pakistan gets access again to the much needed water. Again, Farooq said what happened in Pahalgam was any act against any innocent civilian is a terrorist attack. But here you're targeting millions of Pakistanis who may not get access to water. And that's a serious threat. And that can also consider a terrorist threat.
I might add there about this water. You see, basically, there are historically, ever since this human race has developed, there is a riparian rights which is from the ancient times. The downstream area, the downstream populace has a right on the water which comes from the upstream.
Mhm.
So this is called a riparian rights. And cutting this water, or even thinking of storming, or uh, basically punishing the civilian population, I don't think that a civilized country should do that. It
I
is
hope.
morally, it is incorrect, and it is forget about the international law, and a law which is from ancient times
Mhm.
as a riparian right accepted by every nation on this planet, be it in Asia, Europe, South America, North America. These are the rights that uh, every human being has developed through the history. And India, in the modern times, I saw India using it as a weapon against the innocent people, which is, I think, probably against the Geneva Convention also. There were wars in Europe. There
Mhm.
is war in Middle East. Middle East, scarcity of water is everywhere. But it was never used, and it is never used by any country so far, other than India. For the first time, I see that this has been used as a weapon, or thought of to be used for as a weapon. I don't think that this behooves a democratic country which claims itself to be the largest one.
I think that this is self-evident. What Laura was alluding to, that there is a extreme level of hate against Pakistan, and they're trying to give a collective punishment to the people of Pakistan. Uh, if the hate is so much big in inside, I think even the Satya Malik, the governor, was also alluding to it, that the survival of BJP regime is in hating and keeping the divide between Hindus and Muslims alive. The moment you see this divide is gone, that would be end of their political career, and that's what their basically bread and butter is. Given that circumstances, given that situation, given what's happening on the ground, how do we bring two parties to the table? What do we do? The hate and the level of animosity is so huge, so humongous, that they're not even willing to talk to each other. How do we bring them to the table, Laura?
Um, I remember before Modi was elected the first time as prime minister, that BJP came to power again, that the people of Pakistan were very hopeful because they thought that they could speak to BJP. It's different than speaking to Congress. When I met with the late President Pervez Musharraf in Dubai as well, he also mentioned that with BJP it's easier to talk. It's a different way than talking with the National Congress. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It's about top leadership that takes such decisions. In this case, it is Pakistani leadership together with Prime Minister Modi, on the military level as well. And nothing concrete has been taking place after Pervez Musharraf stepped down in 2008. And I don't expect that anything in the near future is going to happen. It's both countries that need to take steps. One country has to extend an olive branch to the other one, and the other one has to receive it and say, okay, let's have a cup of tea together and let's sit down and talk. It really comes down to top leadership, and I don't even believe that the international community can help here. It's something between India and Pakistan. Just it's about religion, it's about Hindus, it's about Muslims. But at the same time, they were together under the British Raj for so many years. They have so many things in common. They share so many cultural values. Don't look at the negative sides of both the Hindus and the Muslims. Look at the things that unite them together. And it just is not happening. And I just also do not expect it to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
I think if you let me,
Sure.
it's both in India as well as in Pakistan. There are saner voices.
Hmm.
There are voices, and there are people, opinion makers, who can play a role. It's not that everybody in India or everybody in Pakistan is doing the line of the state. There are people who are opinion makers, and they have saner voices. And chance needs to be given to those voices also. And at least debate should be there. At least they should be allowed to listen, to be heard, and a consensus can develop. It is not that one day everything goes away and you start becoming a friend. No. But a debate has to be there, and you have to provide a saner voices, not orchestrated. We have seen in India and Pakistan, both intelligence agencies, the ISI or the RAW, they put up people to talk between each other. But it has to be a genuine process in which saner voices and opinion makers need to be given chance to sit down and to talk about it. And I think that is important, and that is what you need to do in 21st century in this, and not rely on the West to help you, or to rely on China to help you, to rely on Russia to help you. You have to help yourself. The South Asia itself has to help themselves, as Laura said.
If
I,
I can, if I may
sure.
add to that briefly,
Mhm.
um, India rejects the United Nations Security Council resolutions on Kashmir. It wants to have a dialogue according to the Simla Agreement. So have a dialogue then. They don't want to have international involvement to resolve this issue. I respect their opinion. There is a Simla agreement in place between the two countries. So start a dialogue there that all conflict between the two nations should be resolved bilaterally with a dialogue. And instead, there is Pahalgam attack, and then there is a missile attack. That's not a dialogue, and that is not in accordance with the Simla agreement either. Both nations, both leadership may wish to consider going back to the negotiating table and speak as per the Simla agreement.
Last question to both of you. There have been claims and the counter claim for the last 7 8 hours that we have seen bombing on both, well, only in Pakistani side, but we have not seen any witnesses from the Indian side. The question is, do you think it was orchestrated, well planned, understood between the both sides, a short-term operation, so they both have some sort of a political mileage gained. Pakistani army will get its approval rating little bit go up because they were the current chief is so uh, I would call it hated amongst the people of Pakistan, and he wanted to have some sort of approval from public. He got his mileage received, and the election, some of the states are happening in India. So Modi got some of the mileage received, and they will end the conflict by tomorrow. And that's what it was alluded by the vice president of United States as well, that India should restrict, a full-fledged escalation of the war, and Pakistan should cooperate. Inverted commas. So, what is your response to that?
I've been reading the Indian media the last week, and there is a lot of there's a lot of conspiracy that General Munir is very unpopular in the country, and this way he can unite the country because it's divided at this point. This is just one theory of the Indians. I do not have any comment on that. Modi has his way to keep popular. He has his Hindu agenda, which is very clear. I don't think the war will be over tomorrow. I do believe that both leadership are smart enough, both in India and in Pakistan, that they know that they cannot have a protracted conflict between the two nations, as it will damage both of them. So if it was a kind of thing between the two of them that both need to gain popularity, then both should be smart enough to end it very soon as well.
Yeah.
Siddiqui Sab.
Yes, I think the chaos should lead to an opportunity, and irrespective of what has happened, and what has happened in the past has happened. The terrorist attack has happened. India has attacked with the missiles. Pakistan has retaliated. So there is a lot of, I don't know where it's going to lead, but the best thing is that to extract opportunity out of it uh, for a better future.
Thank you very much, Laura. I'm going to let you have the final word before I end the show about your book.
Ah, my book on Kashmir, yes, I published it 2 years ago. It's been extensive work of more than 10 years. Um, it's my passion because I feel closely connected to the people of Kashmir. I feel they have been neglected on the international stage for 7 decades. They have been suffering because of that. And the example is the Pahalgam attack that took place on the Indian side of Kashmir. The aim of my book is to promote the dialogue between the two nuclear armed nations, but also include the people of Kashmir. And then we should not exclude China either, which is also part of the dispute. Um, Anyone who doesn't have any knowledge about Kashmir I would recommend them to read the book. And everybody who has a lot of knowledge about Kashmir, I would also recommend them to read the book because it gives a lot of new information about different issues and how we can sit together around the table and have the dialogue, because that's what I always believe in. I don't believe in war. We can achieve something with a short-term war, but on the long run, and in this particular case with Kashmir, war is not an option anymore, and we need to find peace.
Um, do you have anything coming from China in this conflict? Do you think China can play a role?
Uh, if you speak about China playing a role, then Russia should play a role because Pakistan is very close to China and India is close to Russia. So if you speak about these four countries, Russia, China, India, and Pakistan, the two can sit together around the negotiating table. Russia smart, Russia smart, China is smart. They are big players. That may help to find a peaceful resolution to some issues of right now.
Who would be more effective, China or USA at this point in time? Bringing both on the table.
That's a very difficult question because India is close to the United States and Pakistan is close to China. So then again, you take out Russia, then you include the United States. I think both have to pressure both India and Pakistan to stop this war as soon as possible.
Well, during the first term, President Trump has alluded to that he is willing to mediate if India and Pakistan are willing to sit down to
Yeah,
resolve
yeah.
this issue of Kashmir.
I
Hope you
think
reach
he can
out.
do that. I think he can do it if he wants. I mean, I welcome any negotiation if India and Pakistan agree to that. So if President Trump wants to mediate, please, I welcome him, of course.
Well, we will have to end it there. Thank you very much for being on the show. I know it's late over here in North America, as well as in the Europe. Thank you so much, Laura, for being on the show. Siddiqui Saab, thank you so much for your time.
Very much. Thank you.
And thank you for your input. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.